With Destiny 2 Shadowkeep, we hit step 1 in a commitment by Bungie to rework Crucible into a more enjoyable experience. In this video, we'll be looking at the changes made to the Crucible playlist, with explanation on changes I enjoy and changes I want to see improved yet going into the future of the game. These at most are very early impressions, but just mainly focusing on topics that stand out to me after a month into the update. Before explaining what I do and don't like, first we need to briefly go over those changes. Currently in PvP, we now have Control Only, which is a 6v6 playlist. We have Rumble, which is free-for-all. We have Comp and Freelance Comp, which is 3v3 survival. One is team queue focused and another is solo queue only. We have Classic Mix, which is a 6v6 rotating playlist of Clash, Control, and Supremacy, along with it being the only connection-based matchmaking in the game at the moment. We have a 4v4 rotator, which rotates one 4v4 mode a week. We have a 6s rotator, which rotates one 6v6 mode a week, and this contains things like Mayhem, Clash, Scorch, etc. And then we have Crucible Labs. So for starters, I love that Comp is now 3v3 and allows a freelance version. It allows both types of players to go in, compete, and climb, which I think is important. Even though I think matchmaking is a little off, but I'm not sure if this is kind of Bungie's benchmark for next season, 3v3 in general allows a bit more power on the player to make big plays for their team. I think survival is a good step 1 for Comp, but I would love to see more pure objective modes enter the mix. Something that isn't Clash, isn't Control, and isn't Supremacy. I like that there's an option for connection-based matchmaking only playlists, but long term I think there are issues with playlists which I'll touch on in the following section. As a start though, it's nice to play the 3 major game modes with this set option. Matches have been enjoyable as there are a good balance of good matches and blowouts, as expected with this matchmaking that I've been on both sides of. And then finally, I'm glad Labs is back to test new game modes. This was an option I felt got left to the wind, and it's something I've touched on in previous videos, and I hope that Labs is fully supported going forward, especially following the ending of elimination tests. Now what I would like to see going forward, number 1 is playlist changes once again. Now, not counting for competitive or freelance comp, of the game's playlists, only 1 out of 6 playlists currently have connection-based matchmaking, and the other 5 playlists all have skill-based. I will preface, I don't think skill-based matchmaking is bad to protect new players, but I do think it's bad that a majority of the game's playlists contain it, as over time players will eventually leave, which leaves the population of people who want connection-based matchmaking, especially since the Classic Mix icon isn't fronted and has a completely different look, to then flood this one playlist, which will eventually lead to an inverse result of the goal. Sweatier players will then only exist in this playlist as it is the only option outside of comp. First step in my suggestion though is to add another adjustment to the existing Crucible playlist. For starters, I don't think it's a good idea to have 6v6 Control, a 6v6 Rotator which contains multiple 6s game modes, Classic Mix, and the idea of Iron Banner all at once. These are 3 up to 4 different 6v6 playlists that are splitting the community up as to what they want to play. While I agree that 6v6 Control, or whatever you feel goes there, is Destiny's centric game mode, this should be promoted as the drop-in, drop-out type of playlist. These need to be brought together into one centralizing playlist that is connection-based matchmaking only. This way, if you want to play the main 6s modes being Control, Clash, Supremacy, or Rift, if they bring it back, you can then jump in and out of this playlist to chill and do so. The remaining 6s game modes, Scorched, Mayhem, Momentum Control, and even Iron Banner, can then take up this other 6v6 rotating playlist, along with Crimson Doubles assuming its return in February. This way, when Iron Banner's up, or even in general, you have one 6v6 skill-based option, which is more of like party insane modes, and you have one casual, I say casual lightly, or connection-based option for people to chill in if they want to just drop in and drop out of comp. This way you can keep powerful wards there and it doesn't feel too restricting as it does now. Fours needs to be changed to a fours playlist, the same way we have a sixes playlist. This playlist can also contain a brand of skill-based matchmaking, as 4s are natively more competitive and team focused than other game modes. If people want to go into this mode, they can play a playlist that rotates Countdown, Lockdown, and Showdown, along with any other true objective mode that we eventually get into the game, instead of it just being one featured playlist per week. Now, I don't have numbers in front of me, but I can easily bet that when it's just Countdown, that it's one of the lowest populated playlists in the game. So that's just something that needs to be changed long term to really benefit this as a qualifying playlist. Then what you do with Classic Mix is you then change it into a 3v3 playlist to help people bridge the game, into what 3v3 modes are like. This can contain a rotator of elimination. Once that's done, you can bring Salvage back and Clash. Destiny 1 had the luxury of starting with 3s, but Destiny 2 doesn't, so helping teach that gap would be huge in the long run for the game. We all got some pretty big hints that Trials is set to return at some point, and Trials can also take up this playlist spot, assuming it would come up on the weekend like it did before, since Trials is also connection based and based on wins on your card, not realistically skill based. So at the end of the day, we go from 2 6v6 playlists, one connection based, one skill based, one 6v6 weekly rotator of skill, one 4v4 rotator of skill, one free-for-all playlist that's skill-based, labs, and then both competitive modes, to then going into my idea where we have one 6v6 playlist that's connection-based, one 3v3 playlist that's connection-based, labs that's connection-based, and then we would have, as our skill-based modes, the 6v6 rotator, 4v4 playlist, free-for-all, and then comp. I think long-term this is a lot healthier for the game to support its playlist on all platforms. This floods playlists as a focus and allows a varied amount of game modes to always be around and available. Now, the second major part of my video here talks about game modes. So I currently believe that Destiny suffers from too many Slayer-based game modes and not enough true objective modes at this time. Lockdown is a great mode and is stuck to the 4v4 rotator, and Breakthrough flops since both teams could essentially ignore the objective and win. Having players sitting back, or having true objective modes, also balances the scale of the meta. Currently the game benefits players sitting back with pulses, but as a true objective mode comes into play, it would force players to make sure they benefit with both long and short range loadouts. The same way Call of Duty at a higher level, you had 1 to 2 long riflers and 1 to 2 SMGs per team, or Halo even had players committed to specific map weapons to make sure they have all ranges covered. You may have a guaranteed pulse or scout with this change in Destiny 2, but you would still want someone that could cover close quarters engagements on your team as objectives and make all ranges viable. Destiny could utilize the Rift Ball mechanic for differing game modes, or for differing objective game modes, and I feel that the game is severely missing out from capitalizing on this. I feel there's multiple ways to make the Rift Ball Destiny 2's flag and use this as its centralizing objective. First of all, we can use this to bring back Rift, but adjust the scoring just a tad so it's not as erratic, or you can even keep the scoring the same since it will probably go into the quick play playlist I mentioned previous. I understand the concern for CTF and how it would work with Destiny's movement, but there was an underrated shooter I played back in the day known as Metroid Prime Hunters. It contained a mode called Octolyph, which was its brand of Capture the Flag. There were several movement restrictions. Using some of the advanced movement in the game would make you drop the Octolyph on the spot, or we can even go as far as to make it like Rift in Destiny 1, where you can't skate with it. You couldn't Warlock skate with the Rift Ball in D1, you're kind of just stunted movement, stunted ability, etc. Dropping the Rift Ball could then add the usual timer as other ball timers do in the game, and with this you can have things like Oddball from Halo or even Uplink added from COD. You then have Rift, which is neutral bomb, standard Rift rules. You have Capture the Flag, where you take the enemy Rift Ball back to your Rift and you dunk it. You have Oddball, where you have to hold the Rift Ball. You can have King of the Hill, and then you have Uplink. These game modes would help expand not only comp, but general PvP with a more fun, arena-esque experience, along with allowing some not as popular longer range maps to become more viable, such as Citadel, Firebase Echo, or Convergence. As certain spots in the map can become hot spots to go, you could have Citadel where the cave is the hill, and you gotta hold cave, and it just helps make these maps more dynamic. and you can expand this to Eternity, Wormhaven, Meltdown, or even Emperor's Respite. These modes will have to reward both sides effectively though, as Breakthrough contained the same issues of Salvage where rewarded an advantage to teams to never really push an objective. The great things about Oddball, Capture the Flag, and King of the Hill, and even Rift, is you had to play the objective for a chance to win. The best idea for Breakthrough may even to be to change it to a single bomb game mode where you play a best of series to win. For those that don't know, Single Bomb was a mode in Halo where each team had to play offense and defense per round. Teams would have to commit to the objective whether on offense or defense. This could help utilize a larger maps in play and make Breakthrough a more loved game mode in Destiny 2. My final note is I'm glad that Pinnacle PvP comp weapons are retired, but I do think that comp needs its own aesthetics that separate hitting Legend from the majority. This can be done with emblems, shaders, or armor ornaments for hitting each major competitive level. Comp just needs its separation because while new players have 5 pinnacles and 1 activity weapon to shoot for, veterans are mostly left standing. These are the players that need the incentive to keep going in competitive, and it would allow vets and new players to have that incentive to jump into comp and stay into comp if that was possible. That closes it out for today's video though. Make sure you hit that subscribe button below if you appreciate this content, as I would appreciate you doing so. This is just one of the videos in my new kind of like deep dive series where I go into deep feedback and try to bring different thoughts to helping make Destiny a better game for everyone. Any questions or add-ons to this, make sure to leave in the comments section below. I'll try to respond to it if I can. I stream on Twitch and Mixer, just twitch.tv/Wendler or mixer.com/Wendler, usually Thursday through Monday. I'm on one or the other, and I start around 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, so you can also hit me up there with questions, or feel free to hit me up on Twitter at twitter.com/Wendler34. I appreciate you guys, as always, taking out of your time and day to watch this, and I hope the rest of your day goes well. When they're out.